All right, y'all. Happy Friday. Happy, really last Friday of the semester. I know we have next week as well, and your final essays are not going to be due until May 6th. But as we are nearing the end of the semester, I thought I would make another video and just check back in with all of y'all. I want to use this video to, again, go over the final literary research essay because I have made some changes to it to make your life easier. We will also go over annotated bibliographies, in case you were not aware what those are, and finding scholarly sources again. Okay, so let's, and I should also say too, I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to your poetry analysis videos and reading your poetry analysis essays. And I will hopefully get those back to you, if I have not gotten it back to you yet, by the beginning of next week. So that you'll have time to expand. All right, so your final literary analysis essay. So let's go ahead and look at that again. So it's module 1 over here. We'll go to literary research essay, click on that link. And while we await the eternal preparing of the document preview. Okay, so all that you need to do for this essay is expand on either your poetry analysis or your fiction analysis. I originally had said a minimum of 5 pages, but I'm going to take that down 1 page, 4 to 6 pages, okay? All it has to be is 4 to 6 pages. So if you've already written 2 pages for either your poetry analysis or your fiction analysis, I want you to tack on another 2 pages at minimum. And what you're going to do here is just explore further any ideas that you brought up in your fiction or poetry analysis. I have a number of different philosophical and analytical viewpoints here. If you are interested in checking these out, all of these can be found at the OWL at Purdue website. For instance, it is possible to analyze the things they carried through a Marxist literary perspective, but I'm not requiring you to do this. Some of this could be, kind of advanced material. And if you would like to attempt to analyze it using one of these approaches, that is awesome. But if not, you do not have to. All I want you to do is just to make a thesis statement, make an argument about one of the works, and expand on that. Now, the difference, though, I am requiring a minimum of 4 sources. See, I changed this and I didn't go back through and correct things. So I'm only asking you to include 3 sources, one of which must be scholarly. So I'm going to go back up here and change this later today. So you only need 3 sources, one of which must be scholarly. And I'm changing this because, in light of everything going on, the pandemic, everybody's trying to just get through this semester. Y'all have done a lot of great work thus far. And I just want to make all of our lives easier. So that's not to say that the essay shouldn't be, a superb piece of writing, but I want to, make this assignment more enjoyable. And this is more of a practice style thing. So I'll go back and I'll change this paragraph right here, but this is accurate. So 4 to 6 pages must include at least 3 sources, one of which must be scholarly. And we'll go over how to find a scholarly source again in this video. Must include a works cited page. You can also send me an essay or outline by Tuesday, April 27th of your essay if you would like. Now, this might be a bit difficult if you're going to expand on your poetry analysis because I have not finished grading some of your analyses, but if you know the direction you already want to take and you already have an outline, you can feel free to send that to me and I will give you feedback. Now, let's talk about finding sources and annotating them, okay? So your essays must include at least 3 sources, one of which must be scholarly, meaning you can find 2 popular sources. You can just type in the things they carried analysis in Google, for instance. But you may want to find all your sources through the Georgia Highlands College library databases. And let's go back and do that now, okay? So I just go ahead, type in Google. I do Google for everything, Google. and I'll type in GHC library. You all have access to the GHC library as you are students, okay? And what you can do just to start off, just search Galileo. This is a library database that is a compendium of scholarly sources. The easiest thing to do is just type in the title of your essay. Let's say you or the work that you're looking at. Let's say that you want to write on Emily Dickinson. Because I could not stop for death. Okay. Okay. So I'm not seeing anything specifically related to that poem, so I have to go back and modify my search term. Let's just type in Emily Dickinson death, because death plays a lot of prominent themes in her work. And let's say that you want to write on how Dickinson argues that we should welcome death, as she does in her poem Because I Could Not Stop for Death. She's arguing for the inevitability of death, that we are all going to die, and we should welcome that in some way. Not that we shouldn't, fight to live, obviously, but that death is inevitable and that we should understand its thematic significance. And let's say that you want to write on death, arguing that Emily Dickinson uses this poem to argue that we all need to welcome the inevitability of dying. All right, without being too macabre here. There are a few sources that immediately pop up. Et in Arcadia Ego, Representation, Death, and the Problem of Boundary in Emily Dickinson. Okay, so this looks like a book. Now, you're not required to read an entire book. It's best if you look at scholarly articles, but let's say that you want to just peruse this work. All right. And actually, it isn't a book at all. It is just a long article. Now, of course, you don't have to read this entire article. That would be a lot, though it's always, helpful if you do. But you definitely do not have to read the entire article. But just read enough to get an idea of what she is saying, this author is saying about death. And actually, this is just a chapter in a longer book. All right. You would use what the author is saying to support your own points. So let's say you make the point that Dickinson argues that we should accept death because death is ultimately civil and it's welcoming, or something like that. You would see if there's scholarship been written on that. You would use it to back up your points. Okay. Let's go back though and let's look at an article. So you can look at full books, or you can do this. And this is kind of like a cheat code. Scholarly peer-reviewed journals. If you click on that, anything that pops up will be scholarly. Perfect. The concept of death in Emily Dickinson's I Cannot Stop for Death. This would be a perfect source to read. And I know a lot of the language can be difficult, but I just want you to try your best. Y'all are all very, very smart people. That's why you're here. Key is, though, we got to find it. All right. So let's look for the link to this access URL. Let's click on this. There we go. Okay. We click read online. Sometimes there's paywalls, hopefully not. Mm-hmm. Let's see if we can download. Can we download? Is there a PDF? Let's go back. Let's go back again. I'm not seeing a PDF for this, so we may not be able to use. That's one of the downsides too, right? Sometimes you find a source, but you just can't. There, Emily Dickinson's idiosyncratic use of the Bible and definition of related subjects. Emily Dickinson's joke about death. Dickinson's chemistry of death. Ordinary themes presented with extra an overview of Emily Dickinson's notable poems. So you have to do some playing around. Let's say to switch things up, let's say that you want to write on the idea of feminine escape or entrapment or feminine empowerment in the story of an hour. So I would type in the story of an hour. It's a Man's World, re-examination of the female perspective in Chopin's Desiree's Baby and the Story of an Hour. So let's go ahead and click on that. It has PDF full text. I like that right there. Okay, this is 16 pages long. You do not have to read all 16 pages, but I do want you to read enough to get an idea of what is being said. And if you ever have a question about what is being said, you can ask me, and I will also, lend my eyes to the scholarly source, and we can both decipher what is being said together. Same thing. Let's say that you wrote your fiction analysis essay on Story of an Hour, in which you argued that Chopin is arguing for female empowerment. Think about the ways in which the protagonist is made free, at least momentarily, by her husband's perceived death. Okay? So again, you would want to write a claim, make a position, take a position in your analysis, and use scholarly sources or other sources to back up that position. Now, I said you only need one scholarly source. You can find other sources. For instance, if you just type in Google, like we'll do right here, we can find a popular source. So we can type the story of an hour and feminism, for instance. Okay, and we don't want to use, help me or anything like that, those kind of cheesy and stupid paper writing services. But I don't know, let's click on the analysis of the story of an hour. Now, this is not a scholarly source. This has not been vetted. But nevertheless, you can still use some of these stuff in here. It's often good to look at non-scholarly sources before you look at scholarly sources, because they tend to be written for in a way that is more accessible to everyone, right? Read Wikipedia. I don't want you to use Wikipedia, but read Wikipedia. It gives you an overall idea. Okay. Well, let's go back to the scholarly source because I like this. Let's say that we're going to use this essay because you need one scholarly source to annotate in your annotated bibliography. What you would have to do is just read as much as you can about this and give me an annotated bibliography. And all that is just a summary. For discussion post 4, it is just a 5-page summary. Now, the trick is it has to be cited correctly, as do all of your sources. As do all of your sources. Okay, but let's focus on the annotated bibliography. If you're not unsure about what an annotated bibliography is, we can just go type in annotated bibliography, OWL at Purdue. And the OWL at Purdue website is a great website for anything writing related. Okay, this tells you what it is. Let's see if we can find a format. That's how to cite sources, but I'm looking for just the bibliography at first. So we'll go back. Normally there should be a example, but what we'll do, we'll just type in sample annotated bibliography. Okay, and just click on images. This is how your annotated bibliography should be set up. Okay, you see up top is the title of the source written in MLA format. Okay, and if you're using a scholarly journal, I will show you how to do that MLA source. I'm expecting that some of you already know this, but in case you don't, so you see the citation up top and then just the summary of the source. citation up top, and just the summary of the source. Now you're saying, Dr. Martin, how do I know how to cite it properly? Go back to the OWL at Purdue website. You go down here to general writing information. It's all about playing around here. Actually, let me just OWL at Purdue. No. You can type it MLA format. All right, you look over here, MLA formatting and style guide, the basics. This is how to cite different types of sources. Periodicals. All right, you over here. An article in a scholarly journal. Okay. This is how your citation should look. So authored, title of article, title of journal, volume, issue, year, pages. You just put that citation up top, and below it, you need your 5-sentence annotation or summary. It's really, really simple. And then once you do that, you can upload it. So upload it as a Word document. Looking back out here. You can also find the MLA citation. Let's click over here. Let's click on cite. Okay, and this kind of is a little cheat code too. But if you go to MLA 8th edition, it's already cited for you. Perfect. You just would need to double space this. All right. So it's really not that difficult. I just want to bring your attention to this, because it will be due May 6th, the final essay. All you need to do, again, 4 to 6 pages, must include at least 3 sources, one of which must be scholarly. Only one source must be scholarly, though it's probably better if all of your sources are scholarly. I'm not requiring that, but it is probably better if all of your sources are scholarly. Not a difficult assignment to write. I've already read those who have turned in your essays already. A lot of good writing there already, so I have a tremendous amount of faith in each of you. So that is that. Let's go back over here and let's look at where we are headed as we come to the conclusion of this jolly good time. Thursday, April 29th, we're going to have a final exam. It's not going to be overly difficult. It will most likely involve you analyzing one poem in a couple paragraphs, all right, much as you've done. Now, you're not going to have seen the poem yet, but that's why you have been practicing. And you can reference the terms, everything like that. So it's only going to be a short essay, all right, for the final exam. And you'll have all day to do that. I'm going to open it up on the 29th, but it will be open all day. Okay. And if you need more time on that, I'll probably open it for, 3 days. Okay. And hopefully that'll be enough time for you to knock out the final exam. And it should just be nothing more than a grade boost. Okay, y'all. And then over here, your discussion post for annotated bibliography, which we've already went over, but we can still go over if you need more guidance on that. All right, guys, that's all I've got today. Please let me know if you have any questions. I am more than happy to sit down with anybody over Zoom and do this one-on-one. But please let me know what you need, what you require, and I bid thee adieu. Until next time.